billion to solve the unemployment problem. Now we ask you, how much are you using to solve the unemployment problem? You say 1 billion. You take 35 billion to give to 1 billion to unemployment. That is an insult to the intelligence of our children who are not unemployed. And this cannot be a government to be trusted. It is very clear that this government, anytime it wants to throw the bitter pill down our throat, they will find a sweetener that doesn't make sense. They will find a slogan that just manages the narrative, and they leave the economy to continue to falter. Mr. Speaker, they tell us investment in our banking sector declined from 36% to 30%. Mr. Speaker, they also tell us that deposit that was growing at about 16.6% is now, that was growing at 23.8%, is now declining to 16.4%. So the people who took all those 44 billion, they didn't spend it in the economy. What kind of economic managers spend billions and they disappear from the economy? Something must be happening to those monies. Mr. Speaker, they now say that we should allow them to impose e-money. Electronic levy. Mr. Speaker, no matter how you call that thing, it's a monster. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter the language that you use, that is a killer. Mr. Speaker, that will change the face of our families and our children and the entire business community if we allow this to pass. This is anti-poor, it is anti-business, it is the most regressive. Mr. Speaker, our role here is not to kill the hen that lays the golden egg. And that hen is the businessman we are taxing to death. That hen is the working community that work very hard to break their back, only for you to take the money and go and pay for interest payment, but you are not fixing our road. Mr. Speaker, at this point in time, we need to tell this government in face that when they came to us last year, they said that revenues had dropped by 11 billion because of COVID. And then in addition to that, they spent 19 billion on COVID. Mr. Speaker, the two figures put together is 40 billion. In 2021, they spent only 2.3 billion on COVID. And yet, we still have expenditure in excess of the 40 billion. So if you are running a family as a family head, and there is disaster in your house, and you tell your family they should allow you to borrow to fix the problem, next year you continue to build to fix the problem that is already fixed. And you continue to keep asking the family to give you more money, even when the problem doesn't exist. Mr. Speaker, this government must cut the expenditures that were related to COVID to the tune of about 40 billion before you come to us for a conversation. You cannot be asking us to fund your inefficiency, fund the waste in the system, and in the end you think that that is what the people of Ghana want. The people of Ghana have asked us not to kill them further. But Mr. Speaker, I come from Bolgatanga Central Constituency. And they came and deceived us that they were going to provide one of the multi-purpose dams that we have never seen. Mr. Speaker, to date, after 3 years, only $56 million they have to pay on mobilization, they can pay. Mr. Speaker, in this budget, under page 252, they are projected to spend only 26 million Ghana cedis on a project that is worth approximately $1 billion. How can you scam us? How can you look us in the face and make us have hope that they will get done when you know that you are not going to provide for it? Mr. Speaker, on this note, I want to call my colleagues. Think about your constituency. Think about your constituents who are suffering. Don't think about your government, but think about the people that brought you here. And join me to kill the killer tax before it kills us. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yeah.
Honourable members, we go to environment. Honourable Emmanuel Mafu, Dr. Emmanuel Mafu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion to adopt the budget statement and Mr. Speaker, before 1995, Our understanding of development was that of economic growth. And so all the development efforts, budget statements, and economic policies of government were geared towards making sure that the economy grows using the indicators of GDP and so on. The Speaker, post 1995, the world agreed that the true meaning of development must be construed in a way that we must pursue economic development in a way that is socially acceptable and environmentally sustainable. And that is how come we came to the Millennium Development Goals, and subsequently we came to the Sustainable Development Goals. And indeed, if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, Mr. Speaker, you'll realize that at least 9 of them speak to the issues of environmental sustainability. And therefore, there cannot be any serious budget of any government that does not speak to the issues of how we protect our environment, safeguard our environment, and make sure that we are building a resilient environment. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would like to dwell my contribution to the 2022 budget on the area of environment. In addition to, indeed, the impressive economic performance and the impressive economic proposals that government has presented to this Honorable House. The Speaker, paragraph 249, in my view, summarizes the spirit of this budget as far as the centrality of climate change to economic growth and prosperity is concerned. And if you may permit me, the Speaker, I would like to highlight that the economic policies that have been proposed by government, the overall effect is that we are closing the fiscal deficit, moving the primary deficit to a surplus, and also reducing the wage bill to tax revenue from 50 to 38% in just 1 year. This indeed is an impressive economic record. But in addition to that, if you look at paragraph 447 to 470, Mr. Speaker, this budget has a number of policy statements that is related to environmental sustainability and climate change in particular. And Mr. Speaker, I don't believe that there is any budget in the Fourth Republic that has paid much attention to the issue of environmental sustainability than the 2022 budget of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, I believe when you peruse page 447 to 470, you would see that a number of policy statements have been made to make sure that we are safeguarding and protecting and building a resilient environment. But my interest this morning, Mr. Speaker, is on the issue of how we are translating the policy commitments that we have made and the policy rhetoric into practice, and how government will be able to implement the various actions that we have proposed in this budget. Mr. Speaker, I would like to refer you to paragraph 471 of the budget statement. Mr. Speaker, 471 and 472 speak to an important intervention by government in respect of financing, making provision for the financing of our environmental programs. Mr. Speaker, there is a climate public expenditure institutional review, and this review was conducted by a joint team of UNDP ODA using public expenditure review methodology, which is a rigorous methodology that is used to investigate public financing of particular programs. And in this case, we are talking about how government has financed environment for the past 5 years. And Mr. Speaker, the interesting data is provided in paragraph 472 that we may have to avert our mind to. And it says, Mr. Speaker, if I may read, that, Mr. Speaker, the study indicated that over the last 5 years, that is between 2015 to 2020, Ghana has spent 14.5 billion on various climate change interventions. And this, Mr. Speaker, constitutes three. A more interesting aspect of this data is that the lead institution, agencies, and ministries, i.e., the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Sanitation and Water Resources, Fisheries and Aquaculture, Lands and Natural Resources, Gender, have committed more than 30% of their total expenditure to climate change. And Mr. Speaker, this data gives us hope that the policy response that have been provided in this budget will receive or can receive financing from this government. It shows that this government is serious about the environment, and that even though we are required to look for some 57 billion cedis to implement our nationally determined contributions within the period of 2020 to 2030, the provision in 472 gives us the indication that indeed government has made a substantial commitment, and that the requirement of 5.7 billion per year to finance our environment program is something that is already, in my view, within reach. And Mr. Speaker, particularly if you look at paragraph 457 and 465, 466, already this budget statement points to some proposals to tap into the Green Climate Fund and also to use the mechanism of carbon markets to be able to leverage additional funding to finance Ghana's climate response program. Already, Mr. Speaker, we already have 24 million tons of carbon dioxide available for the carbon market that we can use to finance our carbon program. Mr. Speaker, in addition to these impressive environmental policies, I would like to also talk about the need for EPA's role to be recognized, for EPA to be an authority as we progress as a country, building more industries and expanding the frontiers of our settlement. Mr. Speaker, we are assured in paragraph 797 that the EPA will continue to enforce the environmental protection laws of this country. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the role that EPA is playing vis-a-vis the increasing number of human settlements and industries that we envisage to build, it is important that EPA is to bear on the challenges that may emerge as we progress and as we grow the economy. Mr. Speaker, another impressive policy that I would like to talk about is captured in paragraph 794, where we are talking about the progress that Ghana is making as far as our ambition towards nuclear power and nuclear energy is concerned. Mr. Speaker, towards the generation of nuclear energy to supplement and, if you like, help us to move towards a low-carbon energy economy. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to also come to the issue of the support that government gives to the promotion of science and technology development in this country. Certainly, we know that the poverty gap is a technology gap, and increasingly we have been advocating for government, successive governments, to pay attention to the development of science and tech. 792, two interesting issues are captured that are of relevance to mention, even as we are talking about environmental sustainability and the development of scientific innovation. Mr. Speaker, the first one is the progress that we have made in assisting the CSIR to develop water quality index, which is a clear indication that we are committed to developing technologies to deal with our local problems. And local communities to test the quality of their water, particularly communities that are in mining areas and communities that are polluted. And Mr. Speaker, this is very important because, as we know, most of our freshwater bodies are polluted. Levels of turbidity are high above the standard WHO levels. Dissolved oxygen levels are low, and therefore the quality of our water bodies and resources need to be checked from time to time to make sure that public health and public safety, that is very important to the development of our country. And Mr. Speaker, let me finally end by on a note of highlighting an interesting discovery by the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in the Atiwa forest area, where a new frog that is called Atiwa slippery frog has been discovered. Mr. Speaker, it's high in the town called Sajimasi, and so we have agreed, the scientific community has agreed to name that frog as Konorau Sajimasi, and so that is an interesting discovery. But Mr. Speaker, it shows clearly that our scientific institutions, if we continue to support them, they will be able to do more discoveries. If you peruse the entire budget statement, you will see that in the area of agriculture, you will find a lot, and therefore we can say that this government has a clear support for agencies that undertake science and technology research. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to end here and urge my colleagues to support the adoption of this policy statement and to vote massively for it, so that we can progress as a country, not only in terms of economic growth, but also in terms of environmental sustainability. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute.
No, draw his attention.
You mentioned.
Other members, the things are organized under finance, employment, environment. So I call environment. That's Honorable Tel Aviv, please.
We agreed the sectorial areas. By the sequencing, we have submitted our list. So we're grateful you go according to our list. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I think that we must be very transparent to ourselves. With the structuring. Yes. Please, yes. So I'm surprised, and indeed, at the business committee, we spoke to it. What we did not agree on was the times, but the times eventually we agreed on. So otherwise, the discourse will not be structured. The discourse will not be proper energy. And then there's nobody prepared for that. But, Mr. Speaker, that is where the problem is. That is where the problem is. We said to ourselves that for finance, we're going to allow 2 speakers, 4 names. And I insisted, no, that we had agreed on 2-2. And now, all of a sudden, you surface and say that, oh, we are going to have 3 speakers of finance. Mr. Speaker, we must be transparent with each other. It's not good the way we conduct matters. When we agree, we must go back.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of government business is talking about transparency. Mr. Speaker, we are very transparent because our list, I submitted it to you as Speaker. Recognizing the sectorial issues we agreed to, no doubt about that. So if you see our heading, it is finance, environment, and the Glasgow Conference, climate change, and matters of fossil fuel. Yes. He is to lead our debate on the environment.
Yes, environment, climate change.
Yes. Because there is climate change in the budget. So we said that he will lead from that perspective. Then he will be supported by the expert in that area, Dr. Tai Labi. So, Mr. Speaker, we haven't departed. I want to keep faith with what we agreed. Yes. Jinapo is not.
Foreign affairs, youth and sports, employment, gender. In the case of Honorable John Abdullahi Jinapo, he is number 1 on employment. I did not submit that. This is what your leaders brought. It's signed by them. Environment. After that, it is foreign affairs. I'll call foreign affairs. Everybody on the list will be given the opportunity to contest. So, yes.
Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect, at least you've been here for over a decade. We have never done what you are trying to do now. What we do is that we select the sectoral areas to be discussed for the day. Speak environment, you must also speak environment. We will speak environment by the close of the day. But, Mr. Speaker, we have submitted our list in a sequential manner. That's how we've always done it. Please call the third person that we have on our list. Period.
Number 2. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, this is a house of records. People should speak to the truth. No, that's what you have always done. And that is the reason why you have done what you have done today. It's the reason why you have done what you have done today by submitting your names. So why are you walking away from the truth? What kind of question?
Mr. Speaker.
You are very right. You are very right on what my signature is there. Honorable Abdullahi mentioned that you are looking for our list. So when Ahmed brought it, that I take responsibility. But sequentially, he is third on our list to speak on environment, not employment. But you are right. The paper I gave you is what you are referred to. Mr. Speaker, it's a debate on the budget. We've done it before. This is not the
If you want to change your list, it's here. I'll give it back to you.
Yes.
Make any changes you want, and I'll go. Only make the changes in your pen and bring it to me.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, I don't know if you where we are and what disagreement is ensuing. Because the leader of the minority just got up to say that the Honorable JoyNews is going to speak on energy, environment. And if it's for environment, what's the need to change anything again? What's the no? You are saying that he's going to talk about. You have said he's going to speak on environment. So what are you changing again?
Yes, Honorable Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, clearly they submitted the list to you. Honorable Tai Labi, as it's happening now, it's like there's some discrimination. He's being embarrassed. The man is ready to debate. It's as if they don't have confidence in him. Mr. Speaker, the MP for Eurocop, Mr. Speaker, his constituents know that he's ready to debate, and some people want to deny him an opportunity that they don't is ready, and you embarrassing him, Mr. Speaker. It is his right to speak. All right, they shall allow him. Mr. Speaker, why? Why do you choose John Jinapo over Honorable Telabi? Why? What's happening? You are discriminating. You have to be fair. Mr. Speaker, this amounts to discrimination. You cannot be fair to your own colleagues. Why are you giving priority over some members over Honorable Telabi? Why? You've given his name and suddenly you are changing.
Yes, leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't think that Honorable Abanyumake should be allowed to manage our caucus for us. We know how to manage our caucus. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know why you should allow him to do that. He is not the one to choose for us who speak on what topic. It is our duty to do that. And we are saying, and to say that his constituents are seeing what we are doing to him, you are not being fair to the member. And you are not being fair to the caucus. Mr. Speaker, we should not allow Afenimaki to behave the way he's been doing. It is not fair.
Very well, honourable members. The leader has made changes and he has brought me a new list. And under the new list, John Abudulai Jinapo will now speak on the ballot. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. What's the response? Mr. Speaker, I found the deputy minority leader's comment very unfair.
Please.
No, he mentioned my name.
I'm not giving you the floor. The time is running against you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, it is true that climate change is a major issue. Indeed, Africa contributes only 2 to 3% when it comes to global warming as far as climate change is concerned.